test of my oil fill sensor here. I got it in my hand. I'm going to show it to you in a minute, but just wanted to reflect on the differences in the reading. So that's finally got a sensitivity there, and then I slide this ceramic piece or whatever it's called up, and now you can see I go to 1, so it's complete resistance, like it's an empty tank. Slide the thing back down. I have it upside down in my hand, and I've got the leads connected. I'll show you that in a second, but basically I just manipulate it up and down to test the oil fill sensor. This is the one that's inside the large tank, the 2.5 gallon tank, and I've had a lot of trouble with this. I had to clean the leads off. I'll show you how I did that as well. So anyway, that's the readings, and then just to show you how I've got this thing in my hand, I've got it in my hand like this. I mean, obviously I'd be using 2 hands, which is why I had the recording before, but basically sliding this lever up, so that's simulated that it's a full tank, and that's what was giving me the 0 reading. And when I slide it up to the top, you know, up to, Jesus Christ, 2-finger test, yeah, and I slide it up like so, that's what gives me the solid 1 reading. So let it drop back down for a negative. And then the wires that I'm testing, I'm sure you can read all this shit online, but basically testing the 2 diagonals to each other here, black and black red. It's a horrible video, but you get the point anyway. And so anyway, I bit in the light here. Yeah, it might be better there, but and then, you know, you got to carefully get these damn leads, you know, these things in there and touch them. And I actually had a real hard time getting it to get a reading other than, you know, no continuity. And I want to show you a couple things that I did to try and help. So this connector here is it's male. And so one of the things that I have on my boat, get out of the sunlight so I can see a little better here. On my boat I've got a couple of different little silly tools that I keep on here, but one of them is this, and it's just a, you know, I use this for getting the mackerel off my sabiki rigs, turn it upside down. But anyway, it's got a little bit of a, can't really see it, but a little bit of a gritty edge to it, you know, grabbing edge. And I put that on the leads, and I just kind of grabbed and slid up and back on the leads. I don't know if I can show it or not, but I don't think I need to anyway. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. Basically just put it in there and, you know, carefully up and down, up and down, up and down to kind of clean it off. And then the other thing I have, which probably most people don't have, but I don't know where I got this thing, but I got it. And it's one of those dental picks. It's a metal one. And same thing, it allows me to get in there and kind of clean any of the corrosion off of the leads that you know, was building up. So I did that, and before I did any of that cleaning and scraping, I couldn't get a reading other than a open continuity. And then the other thing that I did is I did spray it with this, get any of the grease and shit off of it. And so here's my tank. I had to take it out of the bottom of the boat. It's a bit of a prick to get out because I've got this long shaft on it that's meant for, you know, because it's down below, and I've got a new pump on there. But I put the new pump on, and I you know, just for record keeping, because I can't find a decent video online that describes this whole problem. I had a problem with the pump. Obviously it wasn't pumping, so I put the new pump in, and it wasn't pumping automatically. I could press the manual override on the engine and I could get it to pump, but even that I had to clean the leads off to get that aspect to work. So I think that switch, that connector setting, was just really dirty and shitty from, you know, it's a 20-year-old boat, so a lot of age on it. So anyway, I got the leads cleaned off and I got it so the manual override would work, but I still wasn't having the automatic work, and it wouldn't work with the engine on. With the boat, I took the boat for a ride. I put a little bit of, you know, filled it up with the manual to get it above the low line. Took the boat out for a half-mile ride, and you know, it had the alarm indicator go off, which meant it wasn't pumping the fluid automatically. So you know, struggle with trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Read a lot more online about the this thing here, which is, you know, the device that I've been testing. It's called the SWB, and I do have the manual, so, you know, I'm not just Mickey Mouse in it here, which is basically this one right here. And you know, it's basically testing out these two leads. And so anyway, the bottom line is it wasn't pumping automatically, but it was pumping with the manual override. And it's not this clogged filter bullshit that you read about, because I have a new filter on there and new pump, and it was pumping when I pumped it manually with the override. So I know the fluid was going through. So it's not a, you know, stuck fluid issue. So anyway, I just scraped off those leads, gummed out, sprayed it with some of the gum out stuff, and I'm gonna put that thing back in and give it a try, and we'll see what the fuck happens. I kind of have low confidence, because I think that the fittings, these leads, I think that they're so ultra sensitive that they may or may not work. And then of course I only got the half of it here, right? So I still have the female end, which is you know, down below in the deck, and that thing's, you got to be a fucking contortionist to get down there and do any kind of work on it. I might take the carburetor cleaner and hose it down and let it dry out before I plug it back in again, just to try and get any sediment off. And I do have the dielectric grease. I could put a little of that stuff on too, just on the tips of the leads on the male plug here in my hand. But the bottom line is that thing is floating and it is reading properly. The question is whether these leads here are good and clean. And if this is you know, simulating that it's empty, you know, in that kind of down position, meaning it's reading a 1 on the meter, you know, 100% zero continuity, then that's not going to basically complete the circuit on the pump, on the pump's switch up top. So basically, you know, just to go to the picture again, and I know this is a blah 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 fucking horrible video, but again, haven't seen it online. So if this one isn't reading properly, then it won't complete the circuit when this thing drops down. And you know, letter C is basically the black and the blue light, blue and red. You know, that wire, that pair won't complete the circuit because this thing is open. And so anyway, that's kind of the deal here. 8-minute video, wow. Anyway, I will record one more and post it if it's, or, you know, append it to this if in fact it works. But I gotta put that fucking thing down below deck. I don't have the you know, the wires to, you know, simulate it all being done, you know, while it's on the deck here. I could probably jury rig some wires, but kind of a pain. Anyway, we'll see. Alright, I did jury rig this thing up just because I didn't want to put it all the way back into the tank. So basically, here's the oil level sensor, and you can see it's in the up position, which means that the tank is full. It's not touching it's touching that direction, which means it's floating upwards, even though I just have it directionally pointed that way. The two leads are the leads for the pump, which at the moment they're not pumping because as you can see, these bottom indicators here, 1, 2, 3 across the bottom, they are solid, which implies that the system is full of oil. And on the back side, spider. What the fuck? Anyway, on the back side you can see the oil tank. Probably just barely make it out, I'm not even sure. Sorry, the noise. But basically you can see it's just above the bottom line, so it's going to be calling. Yeah, you can see the shadow there now. I think it should be calling right now. But I'm not 100% positive, so I'm going to let it run, and I'm going to let it get below the line, and actually, you know what, I could probably check here, because okay, so it's on the hairy edge of you know, not calling. You know, I'm basically looking at letter B. So basically, when it's got plenty of oil, it's not calling. When it's dropped below a certain point, it's not going to call, because the you know, letter C is going to kick in. And so letter C is actually at about the point where it's going to kick in. You know, that float's going to drop down a little bit lower. So I'm going to wait this thing out. I'm not going to record the whole time, but I am going to wait it out and see if it drops below the line. The other thing that I did do is I manipulated that, again, I'm calling it ceramic, but I don't know if it's ceramic or not. It's conductive anyway. I manipulated this and I slid it up to represent that the tank was out of oil. And what it does is it follows the pattern it's supposed to. It basically makes the indicators flash. The middle one flashes, the right one goes away, the middle one flashes, and that basically is saying, you know, hey, out of oil. So and when it's out of oil like that, when it's got that connectivity, continuity rather, then the pumps won't pump the fuel, pump the oil. So it's not like I can try and force it by, you know, making that little, you know, tube slide upwards, because sliding upwards basically says don't pump any oil. Downwards is an indication that it has oil, but I need to wait for the side of the engine to be calling for it. So I've got a little bit too much oil in there. I need a turkey baster or a piece of hose or something that I could suck it out with, but I don't have any, so I'm just going to wait it out for, you know, half hour and let the gas run that tank down a little bit. I could always drain it out a little bit, drain it from the bottom, which is what they say to do. You know, take that water plug off the bottom and let it drip out. But I don't have that in me. So. Alright, I'm going to show you a test that I'm doing. I'm testing B right now, and it should be in the on position. It should have 100% continuity, and it should be calling for oil. I've got this setting so that it's indicating that it's got oil and the tank, and B should be calling for oil, and it should be in the on position. So B on is black and bluish green, blue-green, and I'm going to show you how I test that. It's given me a little bit of curiosity here, because I am not expecting, or rather I am expecting that it should be calling for oil based on this. So I've got this, you can see this yellow one. I've got this non-stranded wire, it's solid wire, real thin stuff, and I just do a little, I crimp things together so that I can, I crimp the wires together, and I, you know, have these, you know, whatever, they're just crimps, right? Anyway, they're hollow on the other side, and I just put my leads into that. That's how I test. You can't get your leads into these fucking things on the side of the oil tank. So I take the solid wire, the green, you know, like I said, green is on this this blue-green wire on the top, where you can see it looks bluish. There's also some green mixed into it. There's a green stripe on it, and then the black is the one just below it. And so I feed them in, and then I do a wire test or continuity test with green and red, and we'll do that again here. So I'll show you how that comes out. I'm going to point it at the meter. So, put it between my knees here. What the fuck, huh? Okay, so green, is got the green lead in, and then the red lead is right here, and you can see that it's got no resistance. You know, the meter is basically reading zeros. Take it out. So that means that my middle switch 2, should be calling for oil, and so it's not, though, is the problem. And so I'm going to take these leads out because I don't want to fuck that up. Again, that's just my little jury rig. I actually did this for the O2 for the I've done this for various tests. In any case, I don't want to get into that, but okay, so it should be calling for oil. It's not. I don't know why. I'm going to connect this back up again. Put some hands down here and do that. Okay. So that's connected back together again. It should be calling for oil here. Then the tank down below is registering that it's got oil. So everything should be calling for oil. The question is, why, when I jump out these, I've got my oil leads here. I've got a red one to the blue and a black one to the brown, and when I connect, I'm going to bring this red wire over to the blue here, because blue to blue, you know what I mean? I'm just happen to be using a red wire that represents blue, and the black, of course, goes inside into brown. So when I turn this engine on again, it should be calling for oil based on this thing being in the yes, I've got oil position. And I guess the only other thing that's kind of fucked up is that I would kind of expect the readings here to not be solid to the far right, because that's kind of implying that I've got a full tank of oil on the side of the boat, which I don't. So maybe I need to test my top continuity here as well. In other words, this may be, A may be signifying, hey, the tank is full. And if A is signifying the tank is full, then it's, not going to be drawing for oil. So maybe A and B are in conflict with each other. And in any case, that's my next test. So I'm going to test the black with the blue, white. Same thing that I did with that solid wire tester there. Okay, so sorry, I ran out of battery there for a minute. I tested this before. I'm going to put it back into the hole. One other thing that I wanted to point out for folks that actually drew me to doing this is that I was really starting to fucking struggle on these connectors. Like, I thought I'd cleaned them and all that. I got about 10 hours onto this, so hopefully this helps somebody else out. In any case, what I first did is I had this this connector that was coming up from the hole. Sorry, I keep losing power here. In low power mode now. In any case, just want to finish up. What I wanted to mention lastly is that these wires coming up from the bottom, that you got to trace these things back. So if you got the connectors on here and they look like they're compromised in any way, you got to test them out. You got to run them back. I'm going to show you where. How we doing, buddy? So basically this is my port engine, and here you can see this connector here right along the side. It's got the same color wires, brown, black, blue, and red with the black stripe. Disconnect that and you do a continuity test from here. And I just ran a wire, I got a long wire here that I was connecting to the leads coming up out of the hole, so I could use my wire tester and test it out. In any case, I finally got results here. The only other thing I want to mention is that, when I turn the key on this thing here, I want to point out that even though the tank is, see the 3 bars there? I got 3 bars, and on the back side, I'm a little bit above the line on the lower part of the tank engine, and or the engine and the tank. You can probably just barely see that line there. In any case, I got the engine tilted up a little bit because I got some boats coming by here, and I don't want to get swamped. But anyway, the bottom line is it's 3 bars on the gauge, and if I had that sensor out, this sensor here, if I had it out and I had it flipped over, it would actually be flashing in the middle. So that kind of surprised me. I was expecting it to be the opposite of that, to be honest with you. But in any case, I'll pay attention to it. And I might take one final video after I get this thing all assembled and after the tank on the engine fills up and shuts off automatically. And anyway, that'll be a wrap. All right, I'm gonna test this thing out now. So I've got that tank at just about a third. You can see that shadow there, I'm pretty sure. And I've reassembled it all. Got this locker down here. It's the port side that I took care of. In any case, it's in there. Wires are reassembled. Power is on. I'm going to try this fucking thing out, see how it does. Turn the key on. And I don't think it's complaining about no oil. Here, flashing there. Give it a minute. Okay. So, not sure why that was, but in any case, got that, and then we'll start filling it. About half full right now. I'll just pump it up. It should shut off. Let's hope. Another half inch or so to go. Running out of storage. In any case, it's at the top. And it has stop. Victory lap. That was a long fucking job. Hopefully people can get some benefit out of this. But bottom line is, check your connections right down there where it splices into the motor, and trace it back to the engine. That blue clip right there, disconnect the blue clip, and test the leads. You gotta use a kind of an extension lead from here to drape it over, you know, if it's a single person test. The other thing I like to do, just as by the way in mind, I have these, when I do these tests, these long tests, I have this long, you know, so I have this alligator clip on the end, by the way. So that's how I test one lead, and then I'll bring the other one all the way over to the back of the boat, and then I'll test it with the needle. So in any case, you take a quick look at this thing again. Not overflowing. So shut off. Fucking amen. So we're good. Finally, I'll put the cover back on. Splice this video together. Maybe I'll take a couple of screenshots of the pictures and the book and stuff too.